deep in the heart of the forest. A young girl in a red cloak. Begins a journey she will never forget. In a quiet, sunlit village at the edge of a great and ancient forest, where the trees whispered softly in the morning breeze, there lived a kind and cheerful little girl, known by everyone for the bright red hood she wore wherever she went. They called her Little Red Riding Hood, and her warm smile could brighten even the cloudiest of days. Her mother loved her dearly, and the special red cloak she wore had been made just for her with great care. Little Red Riding Hood treasured it, wrapping herself in its warmth as though it were a comforting hug. One peaceful morning, her mother carefully prepared a basket filled with fresh bread, sweet fruit, and homemade treats. She placed it gently into her daughter's hands and said, "Take this to your grandmother and stay safely on the path." With a happy nod and a heart full of excitement, the little girl stepped outside into the golden morning light. She skipped along the winding trail, watching butterflies dance and listening to birds sing high in the trees. But as she wandered deeper beneath the tall forest canopy, the sunlight faded, and the world grew quiet around her. The deeper she went, the more the forest seemed to change, the air growing cooler and the shadows stretching longer. The cheerful sounds of birds slowly faded away, leaving only the rustle of leaves and the whisper of the wind. Unseen by her, hidden between the thick tree trunks and drifting mist, something was watching her every step. A wolf, clever and patient, with sharp eyes that gleamed quietly from the shadows of the forest. He stepped onto the path, his voice soft and friendly, though his intentions were anything but kind.
"Where are you going, little one?"
he asked, tilting his head as though he meant no harm at all. Without a second thought, she smiled and told him about her grandmother, who lived just beyond the trees. She spoke freely, unaware of the danger before her, her words giving the wolf exactly what he needed. A slow, knowing smile spread across his face as a cunning plan began to form in his mind.
"Take your time,"
he said kindly. But as she walked away, his eyes followed her with a very different intention. The moment she disappeared along the path, the wolf's friendly mask vanished, and he sprang into action. He raced through the forest faster than the wind itself, his paws barely touching the ground beneath him. He darted between trees, weaving through narrow paths no child would ever dare to follow. With powerful leaps, he soared over fallen logs and twisted roots, never once slowing his pace. He pushed through thick bushes and tangled branches, determined to reach the cottage first. And suddenly, the dark forest gave way to a bright clearing bathed in warm sunlight. There, standing peacefully among the flowers, was the small cottage of Little Red Riding Hood's grandmother. The wolf slowed his steps, catching his breath as his expression changed once more. With a calm and careful walk, he approached the door, already planning his next move. And with a gentle knock, he began his trick. Not long after, Little Red Riding Hood arrived at the cottage, her basket still held tightly in her hands. But as she stepped closer, something felt strange. The house was far too quiet. She slowly opened the door and stepped inside, her footsteps soft against the wooden floor. Across the room, she saw her grandmother lying in bed, the blankets pulled high beneath her chin. Moving closer, she tilted her head, her eyes narrowing slightly as she began to feel unsure. "Grandmother, what big eyes you have," she said, her voice filled with curiosity.
All the better to see you with.
came the reply, though the voice sounded different somehow. She leaned in a little closer, her brow furrowing. And what big ears you have,
All the better to hear you with.
the voice answered again, now sharper, less gentle. And suddenly, the wolf sprang forward with a roar.
All the better to eat you with.
But not far away, a woodsman walking through the forest heard the sudden cry for help. He stopped at once, listening carefully, his expression turning serious as he understood the danger. Without hesitation, he ran toward the cottage, his boots pounding against the forest floor. He burst through the door with great force, determined to put a stop to the chaos inside. The wolf turned in shock, caught off guard as the woodsman stood tall and unafraid. Knowing he had been defeated, the wolf fled as quickly as he had come, disappearing into the forest. At last, Little Red Riding Hood and her grandmother were safe, holding each other tightly in relief. The room filled once more with warmth and light, the danger now nothing more than a memory. Together, they walked peacefully through the forest as the sun began to set in the distance. And from that day on, Little Red Riding Hood remembered to be careful and never speak to strangers again.